For centuries, the rules of logic felt as solid as, say, the laws of physics, just absolute and unchanging. But today, we're going to talk about the incredible story of how that whole foundation, that seemingly unshakable bedrock of reason, got completely shattered. It forced a revolution in the way we even think about thinking. I mean, it sounds like the plot of a sci-fi movie, right? One single question that could make the entire beautiful world of mathematics just crumble into absolute nonsense. But here's the thing. At the turn of the 20th century, this wasn't a hypothetical. It was a real crisis. And this is the story of that question. So, to really get what happened, we need to set the scene. We have to go back to the world that existed before the crisis. A world of what everyone thought was perfect, classical, logical order. For philosophers and mathematicians for over 2,000 years, this wasn't just a way to reason, it was the way. Aristotelian logic was it. It promised that if you just followed the rules, you could build this perfect tower of knowledge that was totally stable, consistent, and certain. And these two pillars, they show you everything. They show you classical logic's incredible strength and its Achilles heel. The law of non-contradiction. That's the bedrock. A thing can't be both true and false. Makes sense. But that second one, the principle of explosion, that meant that if one tiny contradiction, just one, slipped into the system, the whole thing would become meaningless. It was powerful, but as they were about to find out, terrifyingly brittle. So you've got this perfectly ordered world, and right into the middle of it, someone throws a bomb. And it wasn't some complex equation. It was just a simple question. Okay, I know, it sounds like a riddle, right? This was the devastating paradox posed by the philosopher Bertrand Russell. But it's a totally valid question in set theory, which is basically just the math of how we group things together. The problem is, when you actually try to answer it, you fall into an absolutely inescapable logical trap. And here's the nightmare. Just think about it. If this set contains itself, well then by its own definition, it has to be a set that does not contain itself. So that can't be right. Okay, so what if it does not contain itself? Well then it fits the description perfectly, which means it must contain itself. It's a perfect contradiction, born from the very rules of logic they were using. Now, remember that principle of explosion we just talked about? This is where it gets really, really scary. This wasn't just some fun brain teaser. This one contradiction meant you could now prove that 1 plus 1 equals 3. You could prove that the moon is made of cheese. You could prove literally anything. It threatened to turn all of mathematics into a completely trivial, meaningless game. So, you see, they couldn't just put a bandage on this. The greatest minds at the time realized that the problem wasn't just a glitch in the system. The crisis was so deep, so fundamental, they had to start questioning the very rules of reason they had trusted for millennia. But in the face of this total collapse, something amazing happened. A new generation of thinkers, faced with this chaos, decided to do something incredibly brave. They decided to rewrite the rules of reason itself. And Brouwer's approach was just radical. Instead of trying to patch the old, brittle system, he basically said, let's build a new one from the ground up. He argued that a mathematical statement is only true if you can actively construct a proof for it. Truth isn't some abstract thing out there waiting to be found. It's something we build. And the break with classical logic was profound. I mean, intuitionism went after the most sacred ideas. It threw out the law of the excluded middle, that idea that every statement has to be either true or false. It created this third state for things that weren't yet proven. And it also said that proving something isn't false is not the same as proving it's true. You need a direct, positive proof. And the legacy of this whole revolution was incredible. See, the crisis didn't just produce one new logic to replace the old one. It opened the floodgates. It created an entire universe of logics. The idea of a single, universal, true logic, it just died. And in its place, philosophers realized that different problems might actually require different kinds of reasoning. Logic went from being this single black and white monument to a whole spectrum of colored, specialized tools. And the result is this amazing modern toolkit for thinking. You have paraconsistent logics, which are designed to handle contradictions without blowing everything up, which is perfect for messy, real-world databases. You have three-valued logics, which are essential for quantum mechanics, where things can genuinely be in a state of undecided. Logic became adaptable. So, what this whole story really tells us is that logic isn't some ancient set of stone tablets that we discovered. It's something we invent. It's a dynamic, evolving human technology for thinking. And we are still forging new tools to solve the challenges of today and tomorrow. So, we end up right back where we started with a big question. We've just seen that the very rules we use to figure out what's true can themselves change and evolve. Which kind of makes you wonder, if the bedrock of reason itself can shift right under our feet, what does that mean for our whole concept of truth?